Good. So thank you everyone for hearing me patiently, and in next 25 to 30 minutes, I'll try to walk you through in terms of what we have done specifically for blockchain in the supply chain management. By the way, the background which you can see, that's a book which I've written, which is on yoga. So I'm a trained yoga professional as well, in addition to being a researcher at the SPN School of Global Management. And I want to start with giving a token of thanks to my guide and co-guide, Madhuriti sir and Sitaraman sir, so who have been the guiding force for helping me for this overall research. So that's the overall flow of the presentation, and we'll quickly start with the presentation. So we have heard a lot about blockchain, but then let me still spend another 30 seconds in terms of giving a few of my thoughts and reflection of blockchain and how it can be of great use in supply chain management. And then we will go dive deeper into the overall factors which we want to present across for blockchain. Yeah. So blockchain. So in 2007, something.
Is it just me, or I can't hear anything?
I can't hear anything. Mr. Atul?
Atul, we lost you. He can't hear us.
Yeah.
You can probably, can you send him a chat message?
No.
Or then probably put the camera on and try to, he cannot see anyone else. Damn.
Yep.
Probably, I know that sometimes people are using those headsets that have the mic. You know, when you put the mic a bit too up, then it turns, then it mutes you. So that's probably, there might be something related to that.
I think that administrators, the host can talk to Atul. Can you send message to Atul, please?
Yeah. Atul, we can't hear you.
Am I audible?
Yeah. Now we can hear you again. We lost your sound all of a sudden from the you just spoke for maybe 20 seconds, and after that we lost you.
Okay, so then I'm assuming that you didn't heard any of this item which I was talking and discussing on this, right? So there was nothing which was heard on this. Right?
I think the last sentence what I heard was that the previous presenters were talking about blockchains, but I'm going to talk a bit just a little more. So
okay. So let me restart. So as we heard and as we faced the crisis of 2007, which was a financial crisis, which resulted into the kind of trust issues within the banking system and environment. And here comes Satoshi Nakamoto, who came up with a technology called blockchain technology, meant for establishing the kind of trust in the whole system. So Satoshi Nakamoto, as a pseudonym, we don't know the real names, he came up with this concept, and he presented the paper on Bitcoin. And the intent was, how can we establish the trust as a main factor? So trust was the currency for establishing the kind of elements in any of those framework. So with that, he came up with this framework, and in blockchain, when we refer to, there is a genesis block, which is the originator block, which can have the initial information, and then we have the hashing function, which helps you to connect the various blocks together. So it's a distributed ledger technology with the aim of establishing the kind of trust. There are certain characteristics of blockchain technology, which the likes of characteristics are immutability, the data security, cryptography and all those things, they help you to establish the kind of trust in the overall environment. So that's the basic fundamental pretext of the blockchain technology. Now let's try to see the supply chain management as a function. So supply chain management, if you see, traditionally the supply chain management start from the procurement of your raw materials, and the raw materials get processed, and they get converted into a manufactured good. Those manufactured good get distributed across in the different value chain of the supply chain, through the distributor, to the wholesalers, to the retailers, and then to the end users. So we can think of using the smart contract functionality, which our previous speaker have already elaborated. So we can use the concepts of smart contract functionality of blockchain to build the overall pretext of your supply chain. So these are the two concepts which I want to marry across, and I want to use and try to find the factors which basically influence the adoption of blockchain in the supply chain environment. So so that was a basic background and the overall pretext of my research. So this gives the overall research framework which we have followed as a part of the research. We started with the research problem and questions. So we want to study what are the factors which influences the usage of blockchain in the supply chain management. And we deduced from the research problem, we deduced the research objective in terms of how it is applicable to the supply chain ecosystem in particular, because blockchain as a technology can be used in any walks of business, wherever there is any kind of third party being there, or wherever there's any kind of lack of trust. So our focus of this research is only the supply chain management. So based on that, we carried out the literature review. So we came up with the independent variables or constructs. So we focus on the 5 main constructs as a part of this research. Those 5 main constructs are technology, as we say, because the technology of blockchain itself is evolving and it's changing. So that's the first most important construct which we have focused. The second one is the intra-company synergies, which is how the organizations work within and what are the elements of synergy which is required within the organization. That's intra-company synergy. The third one being the inter-company collaboration. So how different stakeholders across the value chain or supply chain, they can collaborate. So that's the third construct. The next one being the extrinsic factors, such as the government factor, regulatory factors, the overall customer needs and demands. So that these are all the extrinsic factor, and the likes of innovations which are happening in blockchain technology and other areas as well, such as say smart contracts, or the cloud computing, or the edge computing, or the fog computing. So these were the 5 independent variables which were studied as a part of the overall research, and they were all deduced based on the gap analysis of the previous research. So we carried out the quantitative research methodology to validate and to ensure that these variables, if they are the fundamental variables for carrying out the overall conceptual model and framework. So we came up with a conceptual model wherein we tried studying the adoption of blockchain in supply chain management with the independent variables, which is technology, intra-company synergy, intercompany collaboration, extrinsic factors, and the overall innovation. So based on these independent variable, we came up with the outcome measures. So how the impact of blockchain technology can help in the supply chain management. So it can have a improved quality. It results into the information sharing when we refer it from the perspective of intercompany synergy. And when we talk about the intercompany collaboration, so it can result into reduced business risk. So there is a established trust elements of trust which can be enabled when we refer to the intercompany collaboration, and that results into the reduced business risk. When we talk about the extrinsic factor, it helps you to have a basically improved performance, because you can always get a better view of it from the perspective of external factors. And when you refer to the innovation, it results into the overall enhanced competitiveness in the landscape and environment. So that's the research framework which we had, and we proposed this conceptual framework based on this. So we propose these 5 hypotheses as part of this. So we circulated the survey questionnaire, and it was comprising of almost 30 plus questions, and we wanted the surveyor should not spend more than 10 minutes of their time to fill this survey, because at the end of the day, if you give them the longer survey, then people might lose interest. So we wanted to ensure that people are genuinely filling it, and our focus was to get the view of the technology leaders and the supply chain experts on that. So the first hypothesis which we created was technology is significantly impacting the adoption of blockchain in supply chain management. So that was the first hypothesis which we created, and we had questions around for testing this hypothesis. The second hypothesis which we wanted to test was how the intra-company synergy is it significantly impacting the adoption of blockchain in supply chain management. The third one was how the intercompany collaboration works, and is it significantly impacting the overall adoption of blockchain in supply chain management. And based on that, we also wanted to evaluate some of those extrinsic factors. So those extrinsic factors are the overall policies different governments have, the overall kind of changing frameworks which organizations have. So we wanted to test that as well. So the fourth hypothesis which was formulated was how extrinsic factors are significantly impacting the adoption of blockchain in supply chain management. And the last one was how the overall innovation which is happening in and around the area of blockchain and other digital technology, how it is significantly impacting the adoption of blockchain in the supply chain management. So these were the 5 hypotheses which we formulated as a part of the overall research. So as a part of data analysis, we got a response from almost 85 plus people. So most of the respondents were based out of Asia Pacific region. So we send the survey and the questionnaire to all the parts of people in the world, but then a primary response were received from the Asia Pacific region. So the data which we have received, some of those need some kind of cleaning, and we did some kind of coding based on that, and we used 5-point Likert scale for establishing our point for establishing our analysis. And then we use Adanko 2.3, which is a structural equation modeling package for the analysis of our data. So it have a capability to do multiple regressions. So we use this tool for carrying out this exercise. And as part of this analysis, we did the construct reliability, convergent validity, discriminant validity, and we also tested the kind of multicollinearity. So we ensured that all the questionnaire, all the questions which are part of the questionnaire, there's no multicollinearity which exists over there. So all those aspects of reliability and validity was considered as a part of the overall questionnaire framing. And when we are trying to do the analysis through the Danko, those results were also showcasing the same. And when we got the overall structural model, we found that the R square value, which shows the overall kind of confidence, was close to 0.6461, which shows that the model is satisfactory in nature, and it can be considered as a model for taking ahead. So let me now show some of those figures of data analysis, where we tried seeing the construct reliability through the likes of Cronbach alpha and row C, wherein all the values of the constructs were more than 0.7 as per the row C value. And yeah, some of the values in the Cronbach alpha are more than 0.8 and 0.6, which is relatively good. So we ensured that the overall constructs are reliable. And then the validity of the constructs were ensured through the likes of the average variance extracted. So the value were within the range of 0.5 and above, so which gave a fair confidence that yes, the questionnaire and the kind of things which were there, it have the validity as well. So we were able to test the reliability and the validity of the instruments which we used. And we also used a Forner Larker scale in terms of ensuring that how the kind of validity can also be tested through the discriminant validity as well. And as a part of the structural model which we generated, so we got the overall coefficient of R square as 0.64, which was fairly a good confident score to be relying on. So when we tried doing the overall analysis, we did a bootstrapping of it. So we bootstrapped the result for 4,999 times. So that ensured us that yes, the effect of any kind of biases can be ruled out as part of this. So we used the bootstrapping, and the results were basically analyzed after the bootstrapping results. So now let me try to throw some light on the data and how we interpreted the data. So as a part of this overall journey, we found that innovation as one of the factor is certainly a significant factor when anyone is considering for adoption of blockchain in supply chain management, because the overall p-value for innovation is less than 0.01, and the t-value is almost 3.3, which is more than 2.59. So innovation is one of the factor which is significantly impacting. We also found that the extrinsic factors, and these extrinsic factors are like the kind of government policies, the kind of customer expectation, the kind of global market which is changing. So they are also playing a significant role in terms of adoption of blockchain in supply chain management, as the p-value was reflective of it. So p-value was less than 0.01, and even the t-value was greater than 2.59. Surprisingly, the intercompany collaboration, so we found it doesn't have any kind of significant impact in terms of overall blockchain adoption in supply chain management. So we were able to deduce it based on the kind of p-value and the t-value which we got it. So p-value was more than 0.01, and the t-value was less than 2.59. And similarly, we can also find the intra-company synergies, and technology is also not a significant factor. So that's the high-level data interpretation results which we were able to get it through the likes of Adanco, which is one of the structural equation modeling tool which we use for the overall data analysis. So now let me quickly talk about the conclusion and recommendation slide, and after that I have a limitation slide as well. So we were able to ensure that the conceptual model which we have proposed in the earlier slides, specifically for the adoption of blockchain technology, that satisfy the validity and the reliability through the likes of Adanco tools. So all the tests which were meant for the validity and reliability were passed based on that, and we can confidently say that this conceptual model which we proposed, comprising of those 5 constructs, can be used by other researchers for their kind of future research as well. So that conceptual model is a valid and a reliable conceptual model. The second thing which we say is obviously as this conceptual model can be used by further researchers. They can help in terms of establishing the supply chain management 2.0 practices by the help of outcome variables. So we already tried mapping these constructs to the outcome variables, and with the implementation of those outcome variables, we can certainly say that supply chain management 2.0 practices can be established and enhanced. Also, we found during that analysis there is hardly 8% of people have implemented the blockchain in their area of work and influence specifically in supply chain management. So we find blockchain is still in the early phases of adoption, although the data is primary from the Asia Pacific region. So yes, but then the overall value is still low, which says that a blockchain is certainly in the early phases of adoption. So there is still a long way for blockchain to be a mainstream technology when we refer to the supply chain management practices. And as we also found during the analysis of the data, that innovation is a core and center of adoption. So the newer and newer technology along with the blockchain, the innovation which is happening, the smart contract, the IoT, the AI, cloud computing. So all these innovations have an impact and can positively impact the adoption of blockchain in the overall supply chain management. So the further study can be done as part of evaluation of the same. And we also said there is still unclarity in the minds of governments, in the minds of people about the blockchain technology. So that also act as a most influencing factor for the adoption of blockchain. So when the governments or when the organization, when they have the kind of clarity in the overall policies for the adoption, it can certainly go a long way in terms of adopting and taking ahead the blockchain technology in the mainstream for supply chain management. So this is the last slide wherein I've tried talking about the kind of limitations and the scope of the research. Because of the positivity of time, because of the limited time, as a part of this framework, the conceptual model which we had, we didn't consider various theories such as STAM, technology adoption model, or UTAT theory, or DOI, diffusion of innovation, or TOA theory. So the conceptual model which we arrived with the 5 constructs didn't take into consideration these theories. So the future researchers can certainly combine these constructs along with the theories which are there, and they can also try to imbibe the effect of these theories as well. So as we said, most of the respondent were were based out of Asia Pacific region. So the results which we said cannot be generalized across geography, although yes, the model which we are proposing, the conceptual model which we are saying, it is reliable and it is trusted model based on the kind of analysis which we have done through the DANCO. But then the results, as we call, cannot be generalized across the geography. Also, in this research, we didn't take any kind of inputs of any kind of qualitative techniques. So we didn't have any discussions. We didn't have any kind of focus group discussion with industry expert. Maybe if the future research can in future, if any researcher is interested, they can also try to do the kind of triangulation with the likes of qualitative techniques also imbibed into it. So that can be a future possibility wherein these techniques can be supplemented with the likes of industry expert views as well, and then what industry expert views says, and how the overall result which comes across through this conceptual framework, are they in alignment, and how they are working as well. So that has not been considered as a part of this studies because of the limited time. And in this conceptual model, we didn't consider the effect of moderation or mediation variable. So this conceptual model is a simple and robust conceptual model. So in future, the researcher can consider the effect of moderation or mediation variable with the likes of theories being imbibed to it, and they can try to further use these conceptual framework for testing it for their specific country, for their specific industry, or for their specific area of work. So these are the limitations and scope of future research. And with that, I have come to an end of it. Any questions?